I hope everybody's well today. It's a beautiful late September day. There's a little bit of a breeze, but hopefully not too much to interfere with the sound quality of this video. So you can see from the title of the video, I don't know what I've called it yet, but it'll contain the words digital ID, a hot topic. But really, to say from the outset, this is really the last hill to die on. There are no further hills after this. You know, for those people who they still count in the millions, really, who have refused to engage with the important issues of the day, who've not taken any responsibility at all in resisting the many forms of tyranny that we've been subjected to in the last few years. Those who have refused to countenance any debate, let alone even any listening to any opinion. It's extremely disrespectful. It's an abdication of responsibility. And it reflects shamefully, really, you know. So I always try to, with so I've got a bit of a croaky voice today. I always try with my content and what I say to bring it back to take the emphasis and the focus away from what the politicians and the overlords, the establishment, the deep state, you know, the hidden hand is doing. Because number one, there's a hell of a lot of people who've got channels and blogs, whatever, podcasts like this, who that's what they focus on, that's what they talk about, which is great, because, you know, that's what we need, because the engineered crises and the manufactured solutions are brought about by those entities. So, of course, I've got some knowledge of that. I've got my own opinions, but it's sometimes it's all that anybody ever talks about. So the second reason is that why I try to bring it back to the society really is because I still don't think enough people understand that it doesn't matter how seemingly powerful a force is, whether it's hidden, whether it's in plain sight or whether it's hidden. It doesn't matter if you've got enough people in that society who realise the importance of the individual being a stakeholder in that society. Enough people who understand the absolutely fundamental responsibility that you have as an adult to defend the rights of your own rights, the rights of the other people in the society, but the rights of the next generation, the children. If you've got enough people who are willing to participate in debate, who cherish things like freedom of speech, the right to an opinion, freedom of expression, who in some way basically can take some responsibility, and who aren't completely wrapped up in themselves, insular, parochial and narrow-minded, then you wouldn't end up in a situation as a society that we are now in, where, you know, for anyone who's paying even, who has paid even the vaguest little bit of attention in the last few years, some people have been paying a lot of attention for decades. You know, the name David Icke comes to mind, whether you agree with everything he says or not, on all the main issues, he's been proven correct. Anyone who's been paying the slightest bit of attention can see that the end goal really is, it's about control, and it's about how to engineer that control? How do you do it? Well, yeah, by, a digital ID. Government having complete control of your data, complete control of how you spend your money, where you go, what you can say, and the ability to lock you out of society if you don't comply with those very narrow parameters that are set by said overlords, technocrats, whatever you want to call them. It can all be rendered irrelevant, this. All the stuff that happened in the name of COVID, all of the other different forms of tyranny that have been perpetrated on us, they didn't need to happen, because they're all founded on lies, and lies expose themselves if those who tell the truth are allowed to tell the truth. And that's not being allowed to happen to anywhere near as much as needed to happen. And the reason for that is actually less around censorship of platforms and lying, deceptive mainstream media. Obviously, they are just features of a totalitarian regime. You're going to have censorship, you're going to have lying governments, you're going to have lying mainstream media. But we do have the internet, which, while it's been censored, it's not been completely censored. You can access all the information you want to help you to cultivate an independent point of view. So the point I'm making is, it's less about the large-scale censorship and lies that have been told, and it's more about the number of people in and around us who refuse to allow that lifeblood of conversation, that oxygen of free speech to circulate around us. And thus, the very many lies that have been told, and the suffering and the trauma that's been inflicted on so many has been allowed to happen because the truth's not been brought into the light as much as it could have been. And when it comes to digital ID, I said at the start, it's the last hill to die on. There is no other battle to fight after that. That's where they want us. Now, there will be, I'll carry on down the canal. There will be a lot of people, and there's a lot of uproar and outrage, and which is great. But unless those millions of people who have refused to talk to us, who used to call us names, they don't do that anymore, do they? They just ignore us, who are carrying on regardless. We need them. I mean, I've been saying, if you go back through my videos, you'll hear this same theme that I've been touching on time and time and time again. That in order to bring down a tyranny and to return a society to a place that's safer for all, and that is one where human rights are protected, you need enough of that society to value truth, and you need enough of that society to possess a little bit of courage. So what we really need to watch out for with this digital ID is a continuing refusal to acknowledge the reality of the situation. Even though some of us have been able to chart the trajectory and the stepping stones and the different points at which you know, we've said this is going to happen, and then it has happened. Unless somehow we can get these people engaged. And the reason, again, a point I've said on many occasions, is because I think there's a correlation between lack of courage, lack of critical thought, selfishness, probably emphasis on obsession with material wealth and money. There's a correlation between that and people who work for the state and the public sector. Hello. Now I know that's quite a hello dog. I know that's quite a vague theory, and I'm not going to be able to prove it, but I'm just surmising. You know, if a government wants to, backed by whoever, controlled by whoever, wants to roll out COVID passports, wants to roll out, you know, digital ID, wants to do whatever in the name of keeping us safe, then it requires the buy-in of millions of people in order to be able to implement that. And those millions of people do it via their jobs. So I'm talking about public sector, NHS, teachers, civil service, police, either by propping the system up and perpetrating the tyranny via that way, or by, you know, applying unfair policing, by inflicting health apartheid, or financial ostracisation. And of course you've also got sadly another feature of our culture, I mentioned it before, is the fixation on money and wealth. And so if your priority is still to maintain the status quo because you've got a comfortable lifestyle, you're financially quite well off, and what's going on in the world still hasn't touched you, really. I mean, think about the extreme selfishness of that, to refuse to look at the suffering that's happening all around, or even worse, to be aware of it and refuse to be an advocate for fairness, to refuse to be an advocate for those very many people who are really struggling, to refuse to imbue, you know, your life with any semblance of, I'd say, courage, really. And why is this? Well, I just think that, sadly, you will have heard this being said many times. We are in a war, a spiritual war rather than anything else, above anything else. And sometimes I think I inhabit a completely different reality to other people, which is why I really value them. I'm quite lucky that I've got quite a few people who around me who value the same things that I do, but I also know quite a lot of people who are absolutely fast asleep. I don't even want to use that term anymore, fast asleep. Actually, I think lacking in courage, let's say that instead. There's not that many really that are still completely hypnotised by these ideas, I don't think. But there are many who, when it comes to topics such as, let's have a discussion about human nature, they just look at you, your two heads, you know. I think there's quite a few people who don't understand that, like, the capacity for good and evil runs through, as Solzhenitsyn said, runs through the heart of every person. Let's talk about, from a historical perspective. Again, I think they might be aware on some level, some guy with a small moustache called Hitler killed a load of Jews. And I honestly think that's kind of the level of analysis really that goes on in many people's minds. They don't have that historical perspective on what's gone before, on man's propensity to inflict harm on his fellow man, on how quickly and how easily societies can slide into authoritarianism. Topics such as psychology, sociology, philosophy, theology, all these huge subjects and concepts and ideas really, that when you ponder on them, you start to, it works your mind, you start to wonder about things, you start to formulate ideas, you start to realise actually that some things are non-negotiable. You start to form kind of a system of values, and some kind of like morality. When I say this as someone who, far from got a crack myself, of course I haven't. Of course there's things about me I need to change. But I've never complied with any of this. And it's so evil. And it's so all-consuming. And also I get fed up of the obsession, the fanaticism around the focus about this is all the government's fault, this is the NGOs causing this, or this is the Jews behind this. Whatever. You can have your own theories. At the end of the day, you can't do anything about that. It doesn't matter who's engineering it. What matters is who's playing their part in it, who's enabling it. Who in effect really is orchestrating it isn't them. It's us, or those of us who are, as I said, primarily for me, those who work as part of the state apparatus. I mean, a good example is the large-scale protest that took place only last weekend. Was it last Saturday or one before? I think it was 2 Saturdays ago. So yeah, a couple of million people in London, protesting about, the focus was around the illegal immigration. It was kind of like a catch-all really, wasn't it? Good protest, loads of people there, good atmosphere, no trouble. And obviously a small segment of the population who were on board with all of this were there. So they represented a hell of a lot more people than were actually there. Yet what happens less than 2 weeks later? We're gonna implement this digital ID in the name of stopping illegal immigration. It shows to me that protest achieves very little, if anything. It's good to form a sense of community and a sense of belonging. What I'm saying is though, they're absolutely out of control. They're going to do this, and the only way it can be stopped is if we stop it. But just like everything else that's gone before, and all these big lies that are being told to us, and it's a horrible feeling that you keep getting proven correct on things that you don't want to be. Again, I'm trying to say that in a non-arrogant way, because I'm not being arrogant. I'm being, you will have heard it, but once you see, you just can't unsee it, and it's so bloody obvious. So my call once again will be to kind of take some of the focus off the actual scheme and who's calling for it, who's organising it, and actually the focus really needs to be on this war that we are fighting. Really should be getting fought around family dinner tables, friendship groups, in workplaces, via words and conversation. And it's not. It's just not. We're dealing with a lot of prideful people, unfortunately. Pride, the original sin. A lot of prideful people who are never going to admit. The people like me. I know people who never admit, oh, Dave was right about that. As if they could ever admit that. And that's pride. You know? Pride comes before a fall. So, I just wanted to make this video. I'm going to make another one as a counterpoint to it, which is important for me to do this because I do strongly believe that if I'm holding a certain group of people to account, i.e. in this video, those who just will not engage, who the selfish ones, the insular ones, the narrow-minded ones, the prideful ones, I've got to hold myself to the same account as well. And I do strongly believe in that. So we'll do a video shortly to say around, to try to talk about, well, despite everything that's going on, how can I and how can you, how can we deal with it in a way that's helpful, really, and in a way that is not resentful, not divisive, because it's tempting, isn't it, to unleash fury on the quiet ones, on the cowards, really. But it's not the way. It's not going to work, is it? I mean, even saying that word, cowards, I think, is that the right word to use? But I think, well, no, it's 2025 now. It's absolutely the right word to use. So I'm not going to feel guilty about that anymore. Deal with it, is what I would say to people. There's many who are very tired, in pain, from all this, and fearful, and that's okay. I actually wasn't too fearful during the COVID thing. I wasn't. I am more so now, but that's okay. It's a natural human emotion. It ain't going to stop me though. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you got something from this video. I'll try and make the next one more upbeat, because that is actually the one of the aims of this is to make it more optimistic, kind of create content that's more optimistic and upbeat, as well as being reflective of reality. You know, it's not going to be airy fairy, you know, toxic spirituality or anything like that nonsense. But on the topic of digital ID, as I say, it's the last hill to die on. There's nothing, there's no more hills after that. So let's just tell the truth today as to how I feel around it. And yeah, well, that's enough for now, isn't it? Don't forget to subscribe. If you think this video will help anybody else, feel free to share it. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you think. Particularly, again, not what they, in inverted commas, are trying to do or are doing. More so about the people around you, and tell me about what level of awareness, kind of resistance to it you think there is. I'll speak to you soon.